Hello. I'm not sure what to think about this hair.
Actually, I'm going to get mine trimmed up and then get it reperned.
Nice.
It's the breakfast show. It's the breakfast show. You're eating breakfast.
We're not.
And we're doing the show. Because the more you learn,
the more you know.
The more you know. And the more you grow. And the better you feel.
Sweet breakfast in every meal.
And I was like, bacon. Bacon is a staple. Last night, you know, so I don't have a cow, so I can't say the cream cheese was homemade. Or the cheese. But I had went and picked some of my Anaheim or Hatch chilies. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like pan roasted them, and then, you know, I took the skin off of them and cut them down the middle, and I shoved them full of like cream cheese and seasoning and stuff. And then I tell you, I mummified them. I mummified them with bacon.
Yum.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And that's what I ate for dinner. They had, I'm going to make you laugh. We had beef pot pie without the pie.
So beef gravy?
Beef pot pie. We had all the innards that you would have in a beef pot pie without the pie part, without the carbs.
Gotcha.
So we did like all the meat and the vegetables and the savory sauce that didn't have flour in it, you know, so. And then I made the chilies. And that's what I ate. I ate the chilies. The chilies were quite delicious. I loved, every moment of them. They were delicious. And he was like, don't eat too many. You might get heartburn. And I was like, yeah, I'll get a heartburn off of a bowl of oatmeal, but not
hot chilies.
Not hot chilies. They were so good. You know, it's my garden. That was a night. You know, I don't know. You know, I did half garden or half container and half in the ground. And the stuff that's in the back, if it was a vegetable based, did not do very well. Everything else grew. You know, if it's a plant flower based thing. Oh my gosh, out the kazoo. In my front yard, I have a very unusual look. I got my container tomatoes, and I got my tomato row, and all of that. So yeah,
let's go down to tomato row tonight.
Yeah, and you know, my goal was when I was planning this garden, my goal was I'm gonna feed my neighborhood. I can barely feed myself on it. So there was a lot of lessons that I learned. Squash does not do well in a planter.
That's right. Yeah, because I've had the same problem.
They really, yeah.
Didn't do well.
I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried, and I realized you just really they have to be in the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Mine would get a nice big vine, and I had beautiful blooms on it, and then the vine would die.
Mm-hmm.
Just boom. So it was like, okay, well, I just didn't like the potato.
I actually had a spaghetti squash, and I had a huge container with it, and that thing went all over the place, produced one fruit. And that was it, and I was just like, yank! So I pulled that up.
Mine up. Actually, I think Bernard did think of it.
Yeah.
So, and then I have I think it's a grape tomato. Because they're about this big.
Oh, wow.
So we just go out there and pick them up meat.
Well, you know, I bought a bunch of packages of seeds. Now, some of the seeds were Dollar General seeds, and some of the seeds were Burpee, or, you know, Fairy Morse, or whatever. And I was kind of disappointed in my tomato seeds, because I bought like 4 different kinds of seeds. I had like Big Boy, Beef Eater, or something like that, Roma, and I can't remember the other one, maybe like Early Girl, something like that. And let me just tell you, I have a bucket load of cherry tomato plants. I was the key word. Yeah. I'm like, really? I hate cherry tomatoes. Chicken wings, a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah. I know, that's how I feel about my little teeny tiny tomatoes. It's a lot of work for nothing. My carrots are the same way. They're all about this big. But they're yummy. They're really good and sweet. They're just not very big.
Mine didn't do shiitake. I got,
Really?
yeah. So, and again, you know, I don't know if it's, you know, I'm just kind of trying to learn things, and I think that maybe it was a little too hot on the carrots and just things like that. Really where I had them, but bless you. Salud. Otra vez.
Thank you.
Otra vez. Una vez más. So, but you know, kids are going back to school.
Oh, yeah.
And that means you and the man are left at home, or you and the woman are left at home.
We're not, because our kids.
Well, I was like, I don't have kids at home anymore, so I'm like, but say 'tis the season, and I know that people are kind of laugh at that as too. I'm gonna say 'tis the season to get laid, but I thought no, you know, I already said it, so. You know, one of the things...
In the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day. Because the kids aren't home. Yeah, they're at school. But one of the things that, you know, and it's kind of like, I'll get trends of things, of conditions or imbalances, whatever you want to call it, coming in.
Seems to be seasonal.
Oh, yeah. And libido has come up probably about 5 or 6 times in the month of August. Most of us are like, it's too ding-dang hot. I don't want any sweaty body next to mine. Leave me alone.
Ugh.
No sweat.
No.
However, a lot of times when we have a lack of libido, that also means that maybe our hormones are out of balance. We can have emotional issues or stressors that can influence the way that our hormones, and I'm going to call it drop in the system.
Let's talk about that for a moment. Our endocrine system is what produces our hormones.
Yes,
right?
it does.
So if you're stressed, what gland or organ, depending on who you talk to, because some people think it's a gland, some people think it's an organ, is not functioning optimally?
Under stress?
Uh-huh.
The adrenals.
The adrenals.
And the adrenal is a gland, it's not an organ.
Right. So that's why I said it depends on who you talk to. It's a gland, not an organ.
I taught anatomy and physiology. It's a gland.
For sure. So if it's not producing properly, then none of your other hormones, your thyroid, your sex hormones, are producing properly either.
No, they're not.
Because it's a big, vicious circle.
It's that one is going to be trying to take care of itself, and then when another one is out of whack,
it'll try to make up for it.
Exactly.
And it just builds. So if you have a thyroid problem, then you may have some other things going on.
Definitely.
If your female hormones are out of balance,
you got a lot of things out of balance with that. I mean,
you know, so you got to look at the whole big picture of what's happening. So.
I tend to, so when people come in and they have, and sometimes they won't come outright and tell you they have a libido issue.
Yeah, they like to
tiptoe
around that.
Yeah, men especially, because they're like, this is a chick, I'm talking to a chick about my business. And I'm like, I did urology for a couple of years, you know, so I'm kind of cool with that.
Yeah.
You know, penises don't freak me out.
Vaginas do.
Vaginas do. It's my own phobia about girls. I don't know. No, and actually, you know, I worked for a urologist, and he was a younger guy. So he saw a lot of younger people, and there was a lot of young people issues back then. So I learned a lot about STDs and stuff in dudes.
Well,
And not, because we didn't have a lot of women come in with STD issues, but we would have men. And so it's kind of like, if somebody thinks they have condyloma, I'm like, girl, go get a black light, a towel, and white vinegar. And they're like, what? And I'm like, seriously, you soak the towel in the white vinegar. Then you take that wet towel and you wrap it around the penis or the member there, right? And you leave it on for 20 minutes. Then you remove the towel, turn on the black light, turn off the big light, and put the lamp over the penis. And if they have condyloma, it'll show up like little white specks. That was how we diagnosed condyloma in men. Because often the lesions, the warts, the condyloma lesions will look very flat on a male, where they'll be more puffied up on a female.
Gotcha.
And so, most of the time if a guy came out and he saw some big puffy thing on his penis, he's going to be freaking out, And women, a lot of times women couldn't see them. But normally for that, you would go to your gynecologist. And then for the male. So it was like taking care of a male was a lot easier. But goldenrod is what I'm really alluding to. It's like they said, like, what do we use in men? And I was like, I thought yohimbe was a herb that they use often. But I didn't, when I started this really early working in naturopathic healing with men on this, I wasn't getting a lot of compliance with the herbs, but I would order, or I would have them utilize essential oils. Young Living used to have this particular blend that was called Mister, M-I-S-T-E-R, like dude, like M-R, Mister, Fantabulous. They took that shish off the market. I'm like, how did you?
Because it worked too good.
It worked too good.
Worked too good.
And so, so then the second one is called Goldenrod, and I don't know why. I must be immature in my head.
I had the same thought.
Because I'm like gold member, and I'm like, it will be a goldenrod, Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I was thinking the same thing, but I was trying not to say anything. It's like, oh, goldenrod.
Well, so yeah, goldenrod. So goldenrod is a really, really good oil for men to utilize. And they would go, where do I put it? And I said, well, you and your partner need to do a little foreplay. And they would look at me like, what? And I go, you and your partner need to do some foreplay. What the hell is that? And I'm like, what the hell is foreplay? You don't know what foreplay is? You have to kind of woo each other, just like a male peacock, woo, out with those feathers, and he's strutting around doing a dance. Our men or our lovers, because if you're in the same sex, you may, your girls, your lover needs to be like that peacock and do a little dancing. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference. So anyway, so I'm like, okay, so if you're going to use the goldenrod.
I prefer new outfits. I prefer new shoes. Just saying. I don't know if my husband's watching or not, but sometimes he needs a little reminder.
I like jewelry. I won't lie. Jewelry, perfume, and essential oils. Prada candy. Let me just drop that out there. Prada candy. Yes. So they're like, so where do we apply this? And
on your nose.
And I went,
no.
On the perineum. And they look at me and they're like, perineum?
What's the perineum?
And I'm like, taint? Isn't that bad? Gooch? Got it.
Guys, learn your anatomy names, please.
Okay. In between the member and the rectum, or the anus, is this piece of tissue. It's called the perineum, So if you're a male and you're using essential oils to help with your libido, you put it on your perineum or your gooch or your taint, whatever you want to call it. can't believe I just said those. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say that in my bedroom, you know, like, ooh, you know, too much information. God, oh, sobriety. So, you know, but on women, it's a little bit different because we can, I mean, there are other oils too, but, and women, you know, they talk about using cinnamon, they talk about ylang ylang. Oh, ylang ylang or lang lang is really good for ED.
Really?
And Nux vomica. So we could have a Nux vomica and lang lang and goldenrod combination.
There you go.
And there's our
There's your combination.
there's our 3 wishes.
So, I have a piece of history for you that is very interesting.
Okay.
So, you know, in the Old West, what did they like to drink? Think about it.
Whiskey.
Sarsaparilla.
Oh, okay.
Sarsaparilla.
Real root beer.
Real root beer, sarsaparilla. Well, do you know what sarsaparilla is good for?
ED.
Treating syphilis.
No!
Yes. So,
Seriously?
sarsaparilla for syphilis.
Real root beer is good for syphilis.
For syphilis. Yeah.
Everybody
So
needs
think
syphilis.
about that. You think about the Old West, ugh, nasty bars with the, you know, bar girls, whatever you call them, the whorehouses, you know. And so
Brothels. The
brothels.
word is brothel.
Yes. And so they would drink their sarsaparilla to drink themselves.
Okay, so I have a question. Could you douche with it if you were a female?
Oh, I'm sure. You just
I'm
make a
wondering.
tea out of it.
I'm wondering if they were doing any kind of douching with it.
I bet they were.
That's interesting. I did
Wouldn't
not know
surprise me.
that.
Because
I'm
you
like,
just make a sarsaparilla tea. Just make a tea and douche with it.
do you know I just cannot ever drink root beer again now because I'm going to be thinking about syphilis. I'm gonna, like drinking my dad's root beer, going, Dad had syphilis, you know. Gosh forbid. All right, so yeah. So on that libido. So if you start using the goldenrod, you'll hand Nux vomica and all of that. Make sure you have some sarsaparilla. Get your dad's root beer, put it in there because you may need it afterwards. You know. No, I was like, I'm probably one of the few people in this world that would say, I don't think it's a good idea to explore. I worked in urology. It is not a good idea to explore. Wear a glove when you love. And if he's not wearing a glove, there's cervical condoms, or condoms for women.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking, if your partner, or if you're out having random sex, and I'm not judging by anything, because people are going to do whatever they're going to do.
Right.
But protect yourself from
right.
herpes syphilis. Seriously.
That's quite the word.
It is. When I used to teach anatomy and physiology, I hated the reproductive system. I don't want to talk about penises. I don't want to talk about vaginas. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. And I'm probably like the most like free love kind of girl in the world back in the day. But for whatever reason. And so they would say to me, you know, Miss Maris, what do you think is the worst STD ever? And I went, no, kind of stopped there for a second. And I think it came out like herpelococco gonorrhea, something like that, chlamydia gonorrhea. And they're like, what the hell is that? And I go, it's a little bit of everything, syphilogonorrhea, you know. I said, it's a drop of every one of those all at one time. And they went, that's impossible. And I went, au contraire. It is not impossible.
Very possible.
You know, and women often, we do not realize that we have an STD going on until it's really bad.
Right.
Whereas a guy kind of gets a little bit of that gist, you know, not too far after that. You know, he's either got problems urinating or some kind of stuff, you know. Because normally when you have a uterus, you think about this and people are going, why are we talking about this shit? But when you have a uterus, your uterus does cleansings.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you'll get a discharge and it's really no big deal.
Right,
so you
because
may
it's
miss
kind of
that discharge when if you get infected with an STD and you don't realize and you're thinking it's just normal uterine cleaning. You know, and then when you've had a hysterectomy and you don't get those discharges and stuff anymore, it's really funny because a discharge, you're like, oh my God, where's the olive leaf extract? Where's the, you know, I need to do my regimen of anti-cootie, and, you know, we're like, we think we're going to die. But, you know, as in, you know, sexual health is, you know, in our libido, and, you know, that's a really important thing to take care of. Because I personally believe that sex is a very important role in a marriage or in a relationship. You don't have to be married to have a committed relationship. But if you are not meeting that particular intimacy needs, because I did have one client that came in and said her husband had like extreme ED, and then she had some atrophy issues, so she was really dry in the vaginal area, and some muscular atrophy, which is like kind of like the breakdown or wasting of muscle. So she said that it was very painful for him. And I said, are you guys at least spooning? And they're like, what?
Are you at least getting naked together?
I was like, you don't have to have penetration to be intimate.
My husband likes, I need skin to skin. You're not a baby. That's what he'll tell me. I need skin to skin, like a baby needs skin to skin.
Okay, so I'm over here, and this is Mrs. All Natural, and I'm like sterile delivery room. She's like, all natural. Let's do it out in the woods. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not giving birth in a bag on a pile of leaves. But and I'm like, and you're over here going, you're like on the skin to skin.
I'm hot natured. Not even kidding. And he's cold natured. And so he wants to like get up all next to me to get warm. And then I'm like dripping with sweat. And I'm just like, ugh.
Well, then you make that way. He's the spooner and you're the spoonee. You know.
Then my back's all sweaty. I just look.
Then you make him lick it off. There's a skin to skin. No. And I was like, and we haven't even talked about what helps women with libido, you know. So, you know, so when you start thinking about these things, I'm just sitting there thinking about penetration, skin to skin, you know. You just, couples have to have a degree of intimacy. And intimacy doesn't always mean penetration. It means spooning, cuddling, kissing, you know, holding each other. Not like this, Alyeen, like this. You know? She's like, I don't want to sweat. So I'm like, Brent, brother, put the air conditioning down to 45. Give the kids sleeping bags and blankets. Put the AC to 45. You'll get your skin to skin. Poor Brent.
It doesn't help that our bedroom is the hottest room in the house.
Really?
That's the weirdest thing.
Well, I was going to say our bedroom is fairly chilly, really. As in temperature, that's it, you know. But that's a him thing. So yeah, I have the blankets, and and I'm gonna make everybody laugh. I have been known to sleep in a sleeping bag. My husband likes it really cold. I don't like it really cold. And so in the summertime, you know, we have the sheet and we have like a real light little blanket, and it's just not enough. But I don't want to wear a bunch of clothes, you know, when I go to bed. I don't need to wear my jumps on the onesie, you know. So I have a sleeping bag.
So I grew up in the deep south, and we didn't have an air conditioner most of the time. So we figured out as kids that if we would put box fans in the windows, course, you're talking about Georgia and Florida where the humidity's really high. So we learned really quick that if we took a bath towel and soaked it and laid it on top of us and turned the fan on in the window so it was blowing on us, then we would stay cool enough to where we could sleep.
You know, that's, what are they called? Swamp coolers.
Yeah.
Swamp coolers are kind of under that.
I had never heard of a swamp cooler until I left home.
And then that weird, and you lived in, you know, in that area where they would have been prevalent. I wonder what they call them.
Well, we didn't do, because it was already so humid, so swamp coolers tend to work best where the weather's drier.
Okay, so I could have swore we had swamp coolers in Louisiana. All right, okay.
I don't know.
I'm out there in a la la land.
That's my observation. So I don't know.
I thought swamp coolers.
Because I didn't learn about them until I moved out to Idaho, in Utah, and then we had this little portable. It was a box fan, but it had a container underneath it. It just looked like your regular box fan, except it was slightly bigger. And so you pulled this tray out and poured water in. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I would empty the ice trays into it.
Yeah.
To get it nice and cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I would put ice trays in. I put ice in it.
Yeah. I'm like, I wonder how it would work with dry ice. Anyway. But, you know.
It would be like, woo, smoky. You'd be like...
And in my love nest, the smoke comes up, you know. That's going to diffuse all the extra pounds that I bring on, you know.
There you go.
But but going back to essential oils, we're having fun. Libido. Let me go get my little list. Because I was over here, I was laughing. I was like, I can't read that from across the room. Now, we talked about goldenrod, and Young Living makes a blend called Dragon Time. Now, I've never used their Progessence or any of that. I am not compliant with anything that I have to put in my mouth. I'm not. That's why I have 12 kids. I mean, no, just kidding. What about birth control? No, I don't have 12 kids. But there is an oil called Dragon Time. And I'm going to say this. Dragon Time is phenomenal if you have had a hysterectomy. If you are menopausal or postmenopausal and you have a uterus, do not use it because it'll make you start bleeding again. And having your menstrual cycle. And most women that once that stopped, they're like,
exactly.
I don't want to ever do that again.
Goodbye. I waited a long time for that to go away.
Yeah, well, you know, I used to call it the blessing.
The blessing?
The blessing. Thank God I'm not pregnant. Yeah. I'm blessed. How are you blessed? Not pregnant, you know. That was in my risque years when I was younger. But Dragon Time is phenomenal. Had learned about Dragon Time, and I was using it here in the office. And you know, it's like you get a flux of things coming in or a cycle of things. So I had lots of women that were coming in that were younger, that were having some PMS issues, or that were post-hysterectomy, and they were having some libido issues and just some kind of not feeling female or feeling feminine. So I started using this Dragon Time because it had all of the oils that you can use for women all in one bottle. And that's almost like a magic pill. So I started using the Dragon Time, and it's every day I'm working and every day I'm using this. And it's after a couple of weeks, Katox looks at me and he goes, babe. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, what are you doing differently? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, what are you doing differently? And I'm like, same old stuff, just another day. You know? And he goes,
it's Tuesday, dear, that's all.
And he looks at me and goes, you've been exceptionally nice. You know? And I'm like, what?
What does that mean?
And he goes, you've been exceptionally nice. And then we sat there, and I was like, the only thing I'm doing different is I've been using this oil called Dragon Time for some of my women that had, and then I just stopped and I went, oh.
Because you've been using it, you're getting the benefit of using it on them. You're getting the benefit of it.
Heck yeah! So I'm going home every day with, you know, a handful of Dragon Time on each hand, you know. And he's like, you're exceptionally nice. You're in a good mood. You're pleasant.
Don't stop.
You're not gripey. You know, everything. You're just like exceptionally nice. And I'm kind of like, okay. I stopped using it, and he's like, God, are you using your Dragon Time? You know. So, but Dragon Time was a really good oil, and to utilize. So, if you're a female and you're postmenopausal and you don't have a uterus, so you had a surgical menopause, fantastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still having periods and you got a little PMSy going on and the libido's off, fantastic stuff. If you're trying to go through menopause and you still have a uterus, do not use it.
Okay.
So you can't use it.
Awesome. I don't want to.
I wonder what goldenrod would do for you. Yeah. But some of the other oils, and I started laughing, and I was like, clary sage. I got 2 bottles of that. Sandalwood, patchouli, rose, and I'm not a real big rose fan.
I love rose.
I like rose from the plant, but not out of a bottle. I don't know why. And bergamot, which I'm not a big fan of bergamot either. But the one that made me laugh was cinnamon. Do not apply cinnamon to that area. Cinnamon is like cassia. And we all know that when I dropped cassia oil into my belly button, it was hell.
She was dancing.
And I don't remember what we were doing, but I was like trying to be like cool, calm, and collect. Going, oh my God, my navel is burning up. We could probably roast marshmallows over it. You know.
It was rough.
It was rough.
It was rough.
But it did take care of my stomach pain. I will not deny. And I was like, so if you don't mind getting your belly button burnt.
Because her belly button was burning so bad that she forgot about her stomach pain.
No, yeah.
Good.
I was like, it was probably about an hour or so, and you know, all the burning went away. But then I was like, hey, my stomach aches are gone, and my belly was like deflated again. So I thought that was pretty cool.
If you're gonna use cassia in your belly button, dilute it first.
Mm-hmm. Dilute it. Do like 20,000 drops to one. 20,000 of grapeseed oil or whatever. But I am like so wickedly excited.
We're moving.
We're moving. Well,
oh, okay.
we're not
Well, I have to tell you something
We're
first. Though.
expanding.
Okay? We're expanding.
Yeah.
So, but no, we have to talk about one other thing because we didn't bring up ashwagandha.
Oh shit.
Ashwagandha is awesome for bringing up those testosterone levels. And so, yes.
Guess who's getting ashwagandha at my house?
So when you bring those testosterone levels up, that helps with the libido too.
Okay.
So, and women also have testosterone. Now, when I was researching ashwagandha a few weeks ago, it talked about bringing up the testosterone levels in men. But I think, in my opinion, if it's going to bring it up in men, it's going to bring it up in the women also.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a huge difference. So from experience, I was working with an OBGYN who did the hormone replacements through the pellets. It was a natural hormone replacement, but it was inserted into your skin. And some of the things that we go through with menopause is testosterone related. And I didn't know that. So getting to talk to her and learning about the testosterone is really interesting to know the things that we go through that we hate as we get older, the urinary incontinence, the tiredness, the insomnia, you're exhausted but you can't sleep, the low libido, all of that stuff went away when I was doing testosterone treatments. So I have an ashwagandha tincture in the mix right now. It's over there in the drawer.
Oh, cool.
So it should be ready soon. I think about a week or so.
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
I'm going to start taking it to see how it does, and then I'll have to let you know.
Okay, who can't take ashwagandha, though?
I don't know. You're stumping me. Who cannot take ashwagandha?
If you were on thyroid medication, you cannot take ashwagandha.
No, that's something I did not know. So
Yep.
That's interesting.
They counter each other.
Interesting.
And it can be really detrimental. So if you are taking ashwagandha, you cannot take thyroid medication.
Okay.
You
So
can
there
take.
you go.
You
Don't
can
take
take.
thyroid medication if you're on ashwagandha, or
You
don't.
you can take thyroid herbs,
Okay, but not the thyroid
but
medication.
not like Synthroid, Levothyroid,
Okay, so let me ask
Armor,
you. Right,
Natural Armor.
so you can't take the synthetic, nor can you take the natural desiccated.
You cannot.
Okay.
You cannot take.
So can you take?
I would say you cannot take.
This was not something. This was
You
not
cannot
something I know
take
for
prescriptive.
Okay.
Prescriptive thyroid medication while taking ashwagandha because they won't.
So can I take a thyroid tincture made with bovine thyroid?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go.
Is it prescriptive?
No.
No.
You get over the counter.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
You can take natural, like the natural products.
I like learning new things.
But if it's
That's
a prescriptive, you can't take a prescriptive thyroid replacement with ashwagandha.
Okay. So I did not know that one.
You know,
That's good to know.
it was somebody sent me a message yesterday, and in the message they said to me, "I'm afraid of getting COVID if I come to your office. What assurances do you have that I won't get?" I don't have any assurances that you won't get COVID. First and foremost. You can get COVID at Walmart. You can get COVID at Taco Bell. You can get COVID at the gas station.
Just by pumping your gas.
You can get COVID because somebody coughed on you, and a cough travels, 102 miles per hour?
Something like
I believe
that.
it's that.
I think you're right.
My response to them was, I have some 20, 30 years in healthcare, working in critical care, trauma, as well as offices. I have 6 years experience teaching anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, law and ethics, medical law and ethics, let me clarify, lab skills, practice management, etc. So I think that I'm pretty dang well versed on how to keep it clean, you know, through there. So I can't guarantee that somebody's not going to get COVID, but I will probably say the last place that you would get COVID would probably be here in our office. Yeah. So just saying. You know, you got to learn to break away from those fears, because
you're gonna manifest the sicknesses that you're afraid of.
Exactly.
You'll manifest any fears you have. If you have a fear, you're gonna end up manifesting it because you're dwelling on it so much.
Yeah.
So,
my friend Carrie and I both, we taught at 2 different campuses, but we taught for some career ecology things. And it was really hilarious when you start thinking about stuff. But when you would go into pathophysiology, like the disease processes and the signs and symptoms and what we do, you know, interventions and then physician interventions, blah, 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 blah. Our students would start, everybody was manifesting in their head, was manifesting these disorders.
right.
So if you were, in the cardiac area, working under cardiac, in the cardiac section, the students would start reading all of these different diseases, and the next thing you know, I think I have cardiomyopathy. Ms. Maris, I think I have, and I'm kind of like, what? Well, I was looking at all the signs and symptoms of that disease. I have all but the last one. Okay. And then, you move on to the gastric one. I think I have Crohn's disease. No, I think you eat at the pizza place too much. I was like, girl, I've seen what you bring in. But, so it's, what I'm picking up on this is that, so somebody reads 3 signs of symptoms that may be COVID, maybe Corona. Oh my God, I've got all 3. I've got Corona. And that's what they keep repeating. They may not repeat it here, but they're repeating it here. And the next thing you know, they go to Taco Bell, the gas station, and Walmart, and 2 weeks later they've got Corona, you know, or they think they have Corona, or it's, you know, they got all the symptoms, but the test was negative, you know. And I'm like, you can't manifest dis-ease. If you focus on how am I going to get herpes syphilis, chlamydia, cochlearia here going on, I'm like, you're going to get it just by looking at a penis. You know?
Because you're worried about it.
You're so worried about it, you're going to manifest it. Everybody in my family has Crohn's disease. Stop owning that stuff. Don't own a disease. Don't own it. Don't own it. Don't own it. Don't own it. And I'll tell you, I kept so focused that I was going to get cancer that I developed that HPV version, and they went in and did radical hysterectomies and stuff on me when I was 25. And I'm like, if I had stopped focusing on that and focused on I am in health, I'm in wellness, my body functions perfect, whatever, that's what I would have had. I probably would have had 55 kids, but...
Yeah. My family gets onto me because I have fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue stuff. But when I was diagnosed about 20 years ago, that's not long ago, and I bawled and bawled and bawled because I was like, I don't want to be the fat lady in a wheelchair wearing a boo-boo from Walmart, you know?
Because we're going to make fun of you.
You know, just like, I'm not going to do it. I finally got to the point where it's like, I'm just not going to own this. So I don't talk about it. So my family will be like, they'll see me struggling with my balance a little bit, walking down the hall, or limping a little bit or something. And I'm like, Mama, are you hurting? And I have to stop and go, oh, yeah, I guess I am a little bit. But they get on to me all the time because they're like, why don't you tell us when you don't feel good? Well, because I don't want to own it. I'm not going to own it. I don't want it. So I will keep pushing and I will keep going, and I'm just not. I'm not going to own it. So I've seen people that were diagnosed similar time frame as me, and they've just gone downhill, you know, on disability, can't hardly move, can't get out and do anything, you know.
Not me.
Not me.
I won't do
I'm
that.
not going to do it.
I will not.
I'm not going to do it.
I will not dis-ease. I won't. D-I-S hyphen ease.
Dis-ease.
You know, I learned that from Louise Hay. I mean, I started studying Louise Hay when I was about 10, 11 years old. And that was the biggest thing right there, is you can't own it. You cannot. And that's why I'm like, I don't use the word I have. I say I am experiencing. So like when my gut is in trash land, I don't have gut problems. I am experiencing gut dis-ease. I experience it. It goes. I can't remember. It was like one of my clients. I called her one day when I was having that bout back in May, and she was like, she must be really sick. And they're like, why? What makes you say that? And they go, Maris never calls and cancels, you know, or says she just doesn't own illness. And I'm like, I don't own illness.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You know, somebody had said something, because I was thinking, and they go, I had this, it was Gabby. Gabby was like, I had this dream, you know, and then we were on the way to the oncologist for you, you know, meaning me. And I looked at her and I went, I rebuke that. And then I'm over there, little Reiki on my stomach, Reiki on my stomach. Don't let her manifest this shit, you know.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, important to me, was not owning that illness, not owning that. You know, I don't own the fact that I had a hysterectomy. I don't say I have kidney stones anymore. I say I experience kidney stones. And then I'm like, that must be some anger I'm kicking out with a kidney stone. Because they're usually really acidic. So you start looking at, it's kind of like, what do you do? If you're experiencing illness or dis-ease, start looking at where it originates from and clearing that area.
Right.
Yeah. So we're really, really super excited.
We're excited.
About moving.
Yay!
Happy not
now.
moving, we're expanding. Because
yes.
we're still keeping 110, 107. We have one room in 107 and the little room of 110. But we're expanding over into the other building. That's that one-story building that's here in our complex. So the Natural Healing and Wellness Collaborative will be housed over there in that other area. And I'm really super excited, except for we just got the shiitake scared out of us. Well, probably more me than her.
I know, it scared me too. I was just going,
and it's like we have been waiting on this for a couple of months. And it's always been one excuse or another why, it's like, oh, they need to change this out. They need to fix that. And, we're kind of like, hurry up.
Right.
And so, every time we would talk to her, we would talk about it.
It's been one more thing.
Oh, no. For 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, I said, so is everything going to be ready to go for September 1st? And she was like, yes. And then she proceeded to tell me all of these additional costs that were going to be expected on the day that we signed the lease and everything. And I'm like, over here, like, we've been talking for 2 months.
2 months.
And you have never, ever discussed these additional expenses. And I'm like sitting here, or I'm not doing this, because the next thing you know, you're going to move in there, and then it's going to be some additional stuff. Oh, by the way, and we're stuck in there for a year with oh, by the way. And I'm like, nah, not going to do this. And I was like, Alyeen, so I contacted Alyeen, and I told her, this is what she said to me today. That has to happen. And I had the lease, and I was looking through the lease, and midway through, I'm already blocked because all I'm thinking about is you neglected to tell me this 2 months ago, and this should have been discussed then. So yesterday, I do some manifesting, so we had text. And she was coming in to see some clients, and I went to, I'll just tell you, I was going to the casino. That's my therapy, right? And so before I go, I sit down and I meditate, and I'm like, ding, da, da, ding, 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 bless me. And I'm like, Daddy, are you listening? Because this girl's confused. We are trying to do your work, and we're getting obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. Bad enough that COVID happened, and we had to totally rethink who you are, how you're doing your work, and I'm like, and Daddy, this is like an additional $1,000 that, when you, somehow when you're in ministry, you're not getting paid a whole bunch of money. You do a lot of work out of love. And then, so we're kind of looking at this like, okay, Dad, you got to make this happen. So I go to the casino. She's here working, so her part's the cool part too. But I go to the casino. Okay, so let me go back. So I'm meditating, and at the end of the meditation, I'm hearing, buffaloes! That stampede of the buffalo. And I keep seeing the 3 gold coins that say wheel on it. So, I take, 60-something bucks, 60, 80 bucks, something like that, put it in my pocket, because I'm going to eat too, while I'm out there, and I go and I go to the first machine, nothing happens, go to the second machine, nothing happens, I go to the third machine, and I'm sitting there, and I'm playing it, but I'm starting to feel sick to my stomach, like I'm going to throw up everywhere, and I'm like moving my mask. Put it back on. And I'm like sick to my stomach, but I decide I'm going to go play this game, the same game, but just a different machine right next to it. And I put my voucher in there. And I think the voucher had like $19.33, something like that on it. And I press my button and I get the wheel. And I'm like, holy cow. So I ended up winning like a major jackpot with a multiplier of 4. And then a minor jackpot with a multiplier of 4. And then, hit and miss, during the thing. So it was like, I ended up with like $700.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, so I'm like calling her on the phone, girl.
Guess what? She
She's
never
like,
calls. I'm like, Linda's calling me. I gotta take this.
So, we kind of laugh about, we're like, well, we'll just do whatever we need to do, I've got the money. I've got my part of the money. We've got everything. We've got money in our account. We'll just do this. We'll just do this. So I come into work and I look down and there's this paper. And it was the original paper with how much god-awful we owed.
I texted that paper to you yesterday.
The pink never showed up.
It didn't show up on the picture? That's interesting.
The pink never shows up.
That's interesting.
So I'm focused on this couple, and I'm going to say for me, you might as well put $10,000 on that.
Right,
right.
Well, I felt the same way. I was like...
So she text messages me this paper, and I can't see the pink ink on the copy, so I have no clue. And then I come in here, and I see that it's like dwindled down to like we only like here's some money to move in. So I was like, God, that was some cool manifestation, because that's what I did. I sat down and I this is what I said, Daddy, I can't do $1 jillion in 2 weeks.
So here's the cool thing about all this too, is like over the last month, there's been a few little things that I've wanted to get for the new space.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to get another sound machine, and so that we can have them all the way through, and just some little things, here and there, some niceties. Well, every time I'd go to try to order one of those, I would be stopped. Nope, don't do it right now. Don't do it right now. Just wait. Well, if I had ordered those things, then this would have been a lot more stressful, because I wouldn't have had the money.
And then we would have had 10 sound machines in 2 rooms.
No. But so all of that, so that had been happening to me over the last month, and every time I'd go to try to order something, I'd be stopped. Well, then yesterday, no, it was Monday, I got, Monday evening, Brent's like, you have this letter from the insurance company from my car wreck. Mm-hmm. It was like another $230.
Oh, sweet.
And so I had to make a phone call yesterday and get it all set up. So that's coming in the mail. And so there's little things have just happened to bring it all together, Mm-hmm. And then talking to the landlord lady yesterday, I went down and talked to her, and it's just like, oh yeah, they're such good tenants, and we love you so much. So here's what I'm gonna do for you, So
I know.
Oh,
okay. You're like, I've been here since 2012. I've never been late.
Yeah. She said you've only been here 4 years.
I've been here since 2012.
Longer than that, but okay. So I wasn't gonna argue with her.
No. No, since 2012, honey buns, but that's okay. We love you anyway.
So anyway, it's all coming together. So we're gonna do a grand opening.
September 12th. That's 2 days before my birthday.
Yay! So we should have birthday cake.
So I'll be perpetually 39.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What time is that gonna be?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Probably like 10 to 2,
yeah,
10 to 3,
like
something like that. It'll be a come and go meet and greet type thing. Come shop with us, because we'll have our retail area opened up again and all that kind of cool stuff. So I'm really, really excited. I'm looking so forward to this. Good things happen when people are doing good things and providing good services, and
right.
I think that's very, very important, that that longevity in a business, or longevity in on that path is very important for a healer.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm like, do we have anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Make your appointments.
Make your appointments. Schedule online. So if you go to my Oklahoma Healing Connections website or Oklahoma Connections Facebook page, the one that you're on, if you're watching the video on my page, it has the links for scheduling, so you can schedule. Yes, I am prepaid. And here's another one of my quirks. Since I'm over 50, I'm allowed to be quirky.
Amen.
I don't like touching money.
Yeah.
I don't like the exchange of money. It really, I'm uncomfortable with that. And it sounds weird, I know, because it's like, I love to gamble, though. But I'm like, when it comes to what I do in the healing, I don't want to focus during your session
on the money,
or the price, or I don't want you focusing on, I gotta remember, it's this or whatever, focusing on paying that bill at the end. So, I just have everything prepaid. Makes it a lot easier. There's no exchange of cash. There's no, you come in for a healing and I'm focused on your healing and you're focused on receiving that healing, and we both feel good at the end of a session.
Lovely.
And how do they schedule with you?
You can just call me or text me at 580-656-2535.
So peace, love, and harmony. Actually, peace sign like this has a negative connotation.
Okay, so we do it this way.
So it's like this. This is negative, this is positive. Sounds weird. But if you're into all of that, like my SRA and etc., they talk about how this is actually a negative. It has a negative connotation when it's used by particular people. So, and I'm like, how else can I say P? How do you say, what's a P in? I'm watching you. That's
P. P.
Is that P?
P. This is K, and this is P.
Okay. All right, so peace, love, and happiness. Okay, so I'm going to have to peace, love, and happiness. That way I can get it real. So have a wonderful day, and we will see you
tomorrow. Today. Because you're going to make an appointment.
Oh, she's messing with my head.